It is my great pleasure to welcome our guest speaker to the stage, who's going to share how the journey from infrastructure strategy to local delivery takes shape within our planning system. Stewart Logan is a senior advisor in the planning division of the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage. He leads areas of work ranging from policy development to urban investment programs and spatial data systems. Please welcome to the stage Stewart Logan.
Thanks very much, Rachel, and good afternoon, everybody. I'd just like to begin by thanking Esri Ireland just for the opportunity to come here. I'm supposed to talk a bit about what we were doing in the department because it's very timely, it's very current, and there'll be lots of tech talks, discussions, dialogue today. They're very important and kind of drive that. It's always disconcerting to see yourself up on the screen like that. Sorry, I'm glad I'm not wearing the same shirt. Just to say then as well, I'm aware this late afternoon slot is sometime when the energy can dissipate from a long day of discussion, and sometimes it needs to just have that perspective. But very much what I'd like to do, if you can bear with me and hopefully you got some caffeine into you, is just to, I suppose, to give my experience from a number of years, I suppose, being involved in infrastructure and planning, and how, I suppose, we have not large, long-term national objectives and how they are translated into that delivery stage, and particularly, I suppose, from the purpose of today, how that availability and quality of spatial data can assist in that, which I think is very important where we're trying to get to. Just a context piece initially, really. I think when you look at this on screen, you see 110 billion. It's just important to kind of stop there. Like, that's 110 billion euro of investment in capital over the next period in the National Development Plan. From where we were 15 years ago, or even 10 years ago, that's a huge amount of resources that we want to deploy, but it is to deploy for a purpose, and that's to enable for our citizens to have better quality life, better employment, better services, and to target that. So that overall societal development is there to underpin and deploy those resources correctly and where they need to go. In the background, underpinned by, I suppose, our international perspective, strengthening our competitiveness, really. The Draghi report across Europe, our own competitiveness action plans, really to drive that, but in a sustainable manner, in the locations that we want it, and to aggregate it up so that that future that we want for our future generations is maintained and enhanced. And then, most importantly, I think, for the purposes of today, is that increased and ever-increasing kind of focus on the delivery and the outcome. We have good plans. We have now funding, and to get to that delivery on the ground so that people can experience, they can touch it, it's tangible. Another context piece, I suppose, is that cross-government perspective. These are two key documents in that relationship. I think Minister Fian spoke in relation to the Accelerated Infrastructure Plan this morning. My own department, the Delivering Homes, Building Communities. This is very much a cross-government approach. Not that that wasn't happening before, but I suppose these documents, I suppose, put those into specific actions to address specific problems with owners, with stakeholders, with a delivery timeline, and with a governance around it to drive it forward. Not a small thing, and I think that needs to be emphasised that across government, but also with stakeholders. It's a joined-up relationship to try and deliver on those outcomes. Also, just an important context piece, and it's not always kind of highlighted, is that we do have a very good and internationally recognised spatial development plan, right from that national level, our national planning framework, to the regional level, regional development strategies, local authority development plans, and at a local level for local area plans. And they are integrated. And what I'd say about them as well is that they are democratically mandated. Not another small thing just to keep in mind. A very important small thing to keep in mind in the context that we live in is that they are researched, they are consulted upon, they're engaged with, but ultimately there's a decision at government level, at local authority level, at regional level, that these are the strategies and we need to pursue those, and give them the time and space in the implementation phase to do that. Just another perspective, I suppose, around the delivery focus, which increasingly has within these documents and within the overall focus at governmental level. you're free to have a look at those documents yourself, but just to pick out a couple of things really from my own department on the legal side, the reform side. We completed 2 years ago a huge piece of legislative reform, the Planning and Development Act, quarter-century legislation consolidated into one act. It's in 2 terms, it's about 800 pages, but that's really what the reform agenda around that planning system had developed incrementally, organically, but it needed to be consolidated and structurally reformed, and that's been rolled out in plans in terms of consenting, environmental assessment, all the different aspects of planning. To pick on one particularly that has been highlighted quite a bit over the last number of years is in relation to judicial reviews of development projects in the courts. And just to focus on that, that has been tackled in the Planning and Development Act 2024, specifically about that, recognising that there is a need and a correctness around having communities and individuals able to input into decisions, to have their voice heard, but also the balance between that and an overall common good, an overall benefit to society from that infrastructural provision. And that needs to be rebalanced, and hopefully those measures would be successful and encourage and assist in infrastructural delivery and provision in the correct places for the correct reasons to the plan. And other regulatory changes across utilities, across planning, environmental as well, that will assist in that infrastructure being delivered. The coordination piece is key as well, right across government. This is a challenging piece, as I think everybody in the rooms know about what's going on, where, who's doing it. And that's, I suppose, a focus that needs to be worked through. And I think today, just have a couple of slides just about how we've been, I think, successful in doing that, certainly using some of the technologies that we've been discussing earlier today. This slide, I suppose, is probably a kind of a key point, but it's also, sometimes important to re-emphasize the simple points. Place is universal. This infrastructure provision, it's not up in the cloud virtually. It's down on the ground, it's under the ground, it's on the streets, it's tangible. And people can relate to that. To that as a starting point for that coordination is obvious. And it's understood. And it's what we've been trying to do, I suppose, take that knowledge, that understanding, that perspective, and use the technology, the spatially based technologies that we'd have to Esri and other suppliers to do that and to make sure that from project development and delivery, messaging, dissemination, monitoring, right through, I suppose, the development phase for infrastructure, that spatial perspective is reiterated and informed. And just to draw particularly around the messaging and dissemination, that often the understanding, the support, the explaining, there's a number of different audiences, and not always an informed audience that has an interest. Levels might be high or low, but you can use the technology to engage with them, particularly for large infrastructure projects that have a wider societal benefit. You need to engage with the different groups that have different competing interests. To do that successfully. And I think we've been trying to do that for a while and have some measure of effectiveness with it. Some of the services, I'll just go through one or two that we've developed in the department around planning and planning data. Some of you may be familiar with this that we've developed for the last 8 or 9 years. Our National Planning Application Database. And essentially what this does, or what did at the time initially, was to aggregate up some of the data for individual planning applications right across the 31 local authorities, several thousand in Dublin City Council, a couple of hundred in Leitrim and Roscommon, together pick out specific data points, a common schema around things like the register reference for that application, I'm trying to think of the data points now. Certainly a description of the development, the decision status, whether it has been appealed or not, those types of aggregate that up to a single national data set. But critically what we decided to do at the time was to incorporate the spatial data with that, to do the spatial join. Because every planning application comes with a paper copy that's digitized, and that's where the planning application is and where the development may eventually take place, and it's part of the assessment process. So we joined that up there specifically, and now now it's launched and operated as a service that operates through our MyPlan platform as well. And what it does then is allows you, and this is just a screen grab of just up the road at Stephen's Green. So you have along the street, you can see all those polygons represent green for grants, red for refusals. the citizen can look and see in my locality what's around it, what's the planning status. Or if you're an infrastructure provider, developer, do your spatial analysis. Half a kilometre new rising main, what's the planning status along that? And then you can access through the links, the web links to the local authority development application, kind of documentation, the plans, the reports, everything is there available along to a hot link. So that it's really that information being greater available. This is a very successful service that's developed year on year. And it's not just me saying that. There's somewhere in the region of 60 million service calls on this every year, and has built and is consistent. And we have done, recognizing that the data is not perfect, data quality issues. We tried to work on them, particularly on the spatial data side. We developed a web-based tool to work with local authorities on the capture of that site to a rules-based, the geometry, big improvement in that. Local authorities use that, recognizing that some of them are capable, some of them need a bit of a hand, but the service is there and consistent and current, and as I say, very successful. When it goes down, we hear all about it very quickly from the users. A second one then, which probably is more cross-government in its nature, with the residential zone land tax. Some of you may be more familiar with that than others, but it's operated since 2021 in the Finance Act. And it is essentially to call out where land is zoned and serviced for development, it should be moving into housing production, and where it isn't, there's a tax of 3% on the market value of that property on an annualised basis, to try, I suppose, a stick measure to try and get these sites into housing production. The local authority does an assessment piece on that about what the servicing of it is, and a range of criteria, but critically we decided and intervened there. Wastewater and water supply servicing of the land is critical. And rather than each local authority engaging with local authority, with Esri Ireland as the national infrastructure provided, we took the zone data that we have for all residential zoned lands under the generalised zoning types, many of you will be familiar with that service, and provided it to Esri Ireland, run their analysis, which they did, came back, Polly's, this is service, this isn't, against a set criteria. We provided that to the local authorities individually and allowed them to accelerate their process of assessing where's the land that's serviced, where should be liable for the tax, and just accelerate and provide a much more efficient kind of process, and it is annually and built on. Another piece which we intervened here is to try to have a national map. The revenue commissioners were asking for that as a single uniform data set to a schema, and like everybody else, we like to keep the revenue commissioners happy, so that was done, and then that's the basis of the tax. It is a map-based tax, which is quite unique, and I suppose from our initial, understanding of that, it only became liable last year. Firstly, it was a 3-year lead-in period, but it is showing that land is moving into planning in production in terms of a planning application, in terms of activity on the site, and that's an area that we have to do, I suppose, more work in, but it appears to be more, and that's, I suppose, the power, or I suppose the interventions we can make on the spatial side to accelerate these processes and to move as an overall national objective in terms of improving housing, what can be done on the ground. I suppose moving into the collaboration piece then really, we were aware that some of these services we had provided them for over an incremental basis, and we needed to locate them somewhere. Primarily on the basis that people had access, and tried to make them as accessible as possible. So we worked with OSI, moved into Tailteann, the National Mapping Agency there. Everybody knows their GeoHive platform. We leveraged that for our own part of that in the National Planning Geospatial Data Hub to aggregate all those services that we're providing. Again, very much on an open data basis, and I suppose telling the story, using the story map mechanism there, to interpret, to assist in the understanding of what that data is telling us about planning policy, telling us about housing delivery, telling us about regeneration, to provide those audience with an accessibility, not just to the data, the raw data, that they can suck up into their own systems, but I suppose maybe those audience that are not as familiar with the technology. Just to take out one or two of these specifically, every local authority development plan as a housing target in its development plan, annualised. We worked with the CSO, with their new dwellings completions data, which is published on a quarterly basis, shows what's actually constructed nationally. Combine that to track what the target is. And look, we know the target, we're not meeting the target, but where the target below that was, and a complexion on, is it scheme housing, is it apartments, it's one of housing, broken up into each local authority to track development against potential. Speaking to that monitoring piece I mentioned earlier, which is critical. Another area, and this is kind of, I suppose, speaking to the collaboration piece there, not just with other infrastructure or other developers, but I suppose spreading the message collaboratively about what's actually going on in terms of infrastructure provision. One of the largest funds that my department has, which I've been leading on for a number of years, is the Urban Regeneration Development Fund. 2 billion of investment in regeneration. We've got additional funding through the more recent negotiations on the National Development Plan to bring it out to 2030. It's not really known about. It's one of those kind of best kept secrets. So a couple of years ago we decided, well, let's map these sites. These are all happening in places that people understand. You know, they live there, they work there. Everybody's got an attachment to a place as the reason for doing this. Some 400 projects. We took that, used the technology. As you can see here, just in the screen grab, some details about this project, some photographs, updates, whatever, the details of the funding. This is a fabulous project in Ballina, County Mayo, an old military base, barracks, refurbished. The central courtyard now an open space where events take place. People have ice creams, you hear bands. The old buildings have been converted into enterprise centre for startups, community spaces. Really important for the local community. But that's where it's happening. That's where the investment is happening. And hopefully that creates a ripple of rent for transport investment, for private investment, for community investment, whatever, housing. That people know there's a confidence, there's an understanding that regeneration is happening and that ripples out. Really, really important. Back to place, back to what is the location for that investment. That's really just kind of a brief kind of outline of some of the work we're going to be doing. So it's on GeoHive there. There's lots of other accessible locations to explore some of the work. But I just wanted to bring forward to the end, so some of the takeaways, as you say, from something like you might bring it to your own organisations, from the point of view of that planning infrastructure provision kind of relationship, which I do believe the technology and certainly can really kind of activate that and achieve that kind of increased, more effective delivery. The strategy, stick with the plan. As I said, there's a very clear set of goals and objectives and plans there that are statutory in nature. They're democratically mandated. Give them a chance to develop and to deliver the infrastructure for citizens. And then secondly, the data. You'll be a long time waiting for a perfect data set, and what we were aware of at the start of a lot of our process, the data, not good, but engage with it, work on it, note that the caveats, work to improve it, launch it, discuss it, get feedback, understand the customers, understand how it can be used, and ultimately you will see the benefit from it that we're seeing along a number of services. They are very, very popular. And we're delighted to see that because it's adding, I suppose, that understanding of planning, that data that's there that can assist through all aspects of planning. And the last one, again, just to reiterate it, place. Start with the place, because if we can concentrate on those locations that we've identified for development, for increased investment, all those investments combined will be greater than the sum of their parts. Thank you very much.